Takulandirani ku AMTV Malawi kuchimake kwa nkhani zenizeni. Ngati nkhani imeneyo kuno kulibe, dziwani kuti nkhani imeneyo ndi yabodza.
Investment, as it was concluded at 128 billion. The other question or comment was from Blantyre Kabula Chilomoni on viability, conflict of interest, and the fact that we actually recommended, or that we actually mentioned that the investment was viable over a certain period. Chair, I would like to request that my colleague, James Mbingwa, starts with shedding more light on the assessment or the analysis as it was done, zeroing in on that viability assessment, the payback period, and the net present value assessment, and what those numbers meant in the context of the report that we submitted to the fund. Then I will take the rest of the questions.
Please proceed, Mbingwa.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Blantyre Kabula Chilomoni, for the questions. I want to shed more light on the issue of the viability that has been raised, because I see that in the question that was raised, it was seen as if that by saying viability, we are recommending that the investment was viable. As was said by the controlling officer, we did not recommend that the investment should proceed. That was, we did not make any recommendation on that, because that was based on the nature and the scope of the analysis that we were supposed to do. The controlling officer, in the opening remarks, shed more light on the number of methodologies that were used to come up with our analysis. And I want to stress that in our analysis, we came up with an intrinsic value of 36.77 billion. This is based on the numbers that we were given, based on the information that we had then. And remember, these numbers were done in 2023. Most of the evaluations were done in 2023, and there had been a time lag. But when we looked at the information that we had, our analysis came to the intrinsic value of 36.77 billion. Then there was a further analysis that was done, and this is the NPV analysis that was referred to. The aim of this analysis was to analyze the price of 48.73 billion, which was the potential price at which they wanted to do the transaction then. In analyzing this price, we had to say, if the investment was done at this price, what would be the payback period? And we communicated that to the fund, that if the transaction was done at this price, the payback period would be 36 years. And we did not recommend that the transaction should proceed. There was no recommendation that was made. I wanted to stress that, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Controlling Officer.
Thank you, Chair. I will proceed to respond to the other two questions. When did we declare our interest in the transaction? The interest was declared at the outset. It must also be said that Public Service Pension Trust Fund was our client at the onset of the transaction. So interest has been declared throughout our engagement with them as our client, because we in entering, even at the time when we were entering into an agreement with the fund for fund management, we already had the CDH Investment Bank as our sister company, and in some cases transactions tend to involve CDH Investment Bank. So that interest was declared. So at the outset, it was declared, but we formalized it when now there was the intention of going into a formal arrangement where we would be the lead advisor for a full mandate to analyze a potential acquisition of the project. Now, that is why we keep referring back to the fact that we never made a recommendation at this point in time because our scope was limited. And in further engagements with the fund, it was made clear that we needed more professionals to join the team, and we would lead those professionals in order to come up with a comprehensive analysis which would inform the decision to go into the investment or not. We wrote to the fund on the 22nd August, and in there I would just read point 2 of the letter that we wrote. It was agreed, and this is referring to a prior meeting, that CAM and the fund will sign a mandate that will appoint CAM as lead advisor in the transaction stroke project, with powers to appoint necessary experts, including but not limited to the following: professional property valuers, a hospitality consultant to assist with industry analysis, a structural engineering firm to conduct a structural integrity review of the property owned by the business, a hospitality consultant to assist with the handovers and to ensure smooth running of the business once purchased, a law firm to assist in all legal aspects of the transaction, including drafting of agreements and the transfer of the business to PSP Hospitality Limited. Number 7, potential conflict of interest. It's in the same letter. CAM is aware that the landed property component of the hotel is encumbered under a loan arrangement between Yusuf Investments Limited, current owners, and a consortium of lenders, including CDH Investment Bank, CDHIB, a sister company to CAM. We are aware of CDHIB's involvement with the owners of the hotel. However, CDHIB's involvement does not in any way impair or influence CAM's professional judgment in advising the fund in this transaction. We would also like to state that as lead advisors, our assessment of the viability of the investment and any potential recommended purchase price shall be based on the reports received from third-party professional consultants. So you can see from here that the intention was that the transaction would be subjected to another full analysis with CAM as lead advisor, which mandate for that particular task was never received. You asked a difficult question, Chair. In our analysis, we made a conclusion that if the hotel was to be purchased at 48.7 billion, it would take 40 years for the investment to be viable, and the payback period was 36 years. Now that we are talking 128 billion, how long do we think, or how long do we estimate it to take? Difficult question, Chair. You asked us to go out, deliberate. We went out, we deliberated. But we don't, as we stand, maybe if you had asked us to go back to our offices and get more information into the transaction and do a proper analysis. But to just throw a number off our heads, it's difficult. Because you will see that this analysis that we're talking about is based on up-to-date financials, March 2024. And using those up-to-date financials, we made projections of profitability going forward and cash flows going forward. You have mentioned that there hasn't been a significant devaluation. We know. We also know that inflation is averaging 20%. Yes, we know that. Is it as simple as just applying 20 or 30% to the numbers? It's not that simple, because we don't know what financial position the business is in at the moment. The business could be in a worse financial position. It could be in a much better financial position. We do not know. So up-to-date financials, up-to-date valuations, and other information that we would require is not available for us to make that to make that analysis and mention a number. So on that one, we will still insist and say, no, Chair, we are not able to. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I know in future you'll be termed as, before you come in, Blood Chilomoni and Mrs. Kapeni, that side. I don't want, I'm not a prophet, but I don't want you in 2030 to be politically exposed, because your selection of words are just like these people who are seated on this side. You're a professional, but Having indicated what you have indicated, that you can't attempt that one now, can you give this committee the exact period which you were given or which you used to arrive at the 40 years and the 36 years recovery? From the point when you're given different valuation from different valuers, how long did you take to get to the years that you've given to the committee? As you bang heads, I will open to the honorable members that at least we can start with Blantyre City Chichiri Misesa. I saw another hand from Mulanje Southeast, and there's another hand from Chitipa Central. In that order, please, honourable members.
Thank you very much, Chair. Through you to the controlling officer, I just wanted to know if she can look straight at the camera. You can choose one. You can choose one and tell Malawians, because they are watching, as a professional, is that the best answer to the question that the chair has asked about a simple mathematic that we have asked for? You have already explained that 36 billion, no, is it 38 point, no, 36, was it 30? 48.73 billion is equal to 40 years. What about 120 billion, 28? Is equal to more or less? It's a simple mathematics. Can you look at the camera and explain to Malawians that you are, and can you say that you are indeed a professional by failing to respond to this simple question? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Blantyre City Chichiri Misesa. Now we'll go to Mulanje Southeast, then Chitipa Central, and we'll go to Nkatabe Central.
Thanks very much, Chair. I noticed from my colleagues that we still would want to put calm on the spot with regards to our expectation that they would give a guide as to how long we would be in a position to recover 128 billion. I wouldn't want to put them on the spot. But, Chair, the controlling officer pointed out that they had projected. If you underline projection, it actually means that there were variables that they had taken into consideration to come up with 40 years and a repayment period of 36 years. I don't understand how that would have changed within 2 years. Because if they projected 40 years, it actually means that they had looked at the cash flows, they had looked at the asset devaluation and appreciation for a period of 40 years. And they had looked at what type of business. This is an ongoing business as a going concern. And they had said that the repayment period is going to be 36 years. The viability up to 40 years. And to ask 2 years down the line, actually it's a year down the line. They are saying, no, we need to be provided with the current positioning of this business. How do you do that when we had projected for 40 years? Secondly, Chair, I wanted to find out from the controlling officer, the portfolio that they are managing. What is the percentage of the portfolio that they are managing for the public pension fund? Because this is going to help us to make a decision. My friend from Chiromone has already indicated that as far as we are concerned, the CEO is trying to push for a new assignment. But the assignment that they were given to analyze the data that was provided from 2023 already indicates that at 48, which was the price that the public pensions was trying to buy to buy this hotel, it was already over the cost of 36.7 billion, which they had worked on and found that was the value of the asset as it stood there. From their analysis, they are not even pointing out that they had advised the pension fund that they were investing into a property that was already overvalued at 48 billion. I wouldn't want to extend it to 128 billion, but this is the data that they were working with, you see. But they are coming, continuously comes to us and saying, we were looking for a bigger assignment. No. Their assignment was analyze. After analyzing, what was it that they had provided to the pension fund? That was the end of their assignment. And as far as this committee is concerned, we're looking at they're coming up with 36.7 billion as the value of the asset that was about to be procured. That on its own would actually indicate that the Public Pensions Fund was trying to invest in a property that was overvalued already. And that was the limitation of the assignment that had been given to CDH Asset Management. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. I like your thinking, Mmene Southeast, because 40 years ago, I was a 3-year-old boy in Kanjeza police lines where my dad was serving as a police officer. I had no idea on how Kamuzu Highway will look like in the next 40 years. I had no idea when I moved to Lilongwe, when my dad passed on, and I was a street kid in Lilongwe, how Lilongwe Bridge will look like in the next 40 years. I was not aware. They were able to do that, projecting into the future, because they are professionals. But now, 2 years down the line, they are unable to commit that something can happen. But maybe I leave it there and ask Chitipa Central to come in. Chitipa Central, please.
Thank you, Chair. I think my thinking is the same of Mulanje Southeast. CAM did the assignment. If they did the assignment and they delivered their findings to their client. If I draw to page 2 of their report under scope, on point 15.21, their assignment was to determine the viability of the investment. So their deliverable was to determine the viability of the investment, which they did. So that was their deliverable. So when they say we did not advise, we did not do this, they did the assignment so that their client would make an informed decision based on their assignment. Chair, allow me to continue with my question. Another question is, they used the information from the reports from 3 valuers. I would like to know how many of the 3 valuers indicated that the investment was viable or profitable, and if any in that report showed the amount which based the analysis, the 48 billion, if any of the valuers came close to that price. Thank you, Chair.
Controlling Officer, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. Several questions. Blanta Chichiri Misesa. They want me to look into the camera. I don't know which one. But they are saying it's a simple mathematics. I disagree. It is not simple mathematics. If it was simple mathematics, I've got a calculator in front of me. I would have given you the number. But you're saying, are you a true professional? Yes, I am. And I'm compelled by my professionalism not to throw a number in the air, which I don't have a backing for. So on this one, we are not able to. The next 2 questions are Mulanje Southeast, Chitipa Central. They are related. 2 years ago, we were able to come up with a net present value. And 2 years ago, we were able to come up with a period in which the investment would be viable. Now, after 2 years, it's a short time. 2 years is not a short time. In between the 2 years, there have been 2 sets of financial statements. And in our analysis, we relied a lot on the financial statements. For us to come up with projections for future viability, we relied on the financial statements. There have been 2 sets of financial statements in between, which we are not in possession of, and therefore it is difficult to just throw a number. It's not simple proportion, where you are saying if 30 times 5 is equal to 150, and therefore 30 times 20 should be 600. It's not that simple. That is why we took time to outline our methodology to you. And that methodology requires inputs, and we do not have those inputs. What portfolio do we hold for Public Service Pension Trust Fund? At the onset, when we were starting the relationship, we were given 30% of the portfolio, and we are still managing that percentage. Suffice to say that there have been additions from new member contributions along the way, and that was December 2018. There was also a question, are you asking for a new assignment to go and do another valuation? We are not asking for a new assignment. We are just clarifying why we cannot, at this point, with information dating back 2 years, which we believe to be too historical, to come up with a proper assessment of payback period or viability period. Chitipa Central, you asked how many of the 3 valuers indicated that the investment was viable. The 3 valuers, I take it you are referring to Knight Frank, you are referring to Garden City Properties, and you are referring to FDH Bank. All of them came up with different valuations, Garden of 30.04 billion with a range of 26 to 35 billion. But given the information that we had, and given the financial statements, updated financial statements that we received, we came up with another valuation, and the values are the ones that we have outlined to you already. Thank you.
Thank you, Controlling Officer. I see a hand from Lilongwe Chiwamba. Maybe before we come to Lilongwe Chiwamba, Chitipa Central, is that supplementary?
Yes, supplementary.
Maybe can I give you the floor since it's supplementary?
Yeah, I think the controlling officer just missed on the question of on the recommendation from the valuers. How many indicated that the business is viable? They did their reporting. I believe there were some recommendations from the reports. So I'm looking at those recommendations. How many of them indicated that the business was profitable? Thank you, Chair.
Controlling Officer, I think you've heard what Chitipa Central has indicated, because you were never a valuer, but you had valuation reports from different valuers. And on 18th May 2024, you actually submitted an analysis indicating viability or what was not viable. Having looked at all those reports, if you populate them from different valuers, how many indicated that this is viable, this is not viable? I think that's what Chitipa Central is asking. We'll go to Nkatabe Central, then Lilongwe Chiwamba, because I had already recognized Nkatabe Central.
Thank you very much, Chair. My question is to ask the controlling officer. First, the role of Parliament is threefold: 1, representation; 2, oversight; 3, legislation. Our interest as Parliament is to safeguard and protect the interest of the people who cannot speak for themselves. These are funds, these are monies earned and deposited by people who worked in the civil service. They're being deducted, they're at home, others has even died. They cannot speak for themselves. That's why we are here speaking now for them. In your narration or in your presentation, we have heard of different figures. I've heard the figure of 48, a figure of 36 billion. FDH was here in the morning. They had put the value at 30 billion. Now we hear that the Reserve Bank registrar of financial institutions had put a stop order to this transaction. However, the information in the public domain is that 90 billion has already been paid to use of investments as a sale value for this transaction. Are you hearing those sentiments? Are you getting that information? Was this a straight transaction? Can we say that? Was there transparency here? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chitipa Central. Lilongwe Chiwamba.
Thank you, Chair. Mine is just a simple question. Looking on the letter dated 4 March 2026, 20th March 2024, KAM was engaged by the fund in a limited advisory capacity to provide an interim investment analysis of the proposed acquisition of the hotel. Chair, I have a simple question. For the service you have rendered, have you received payment for the service you rendered? If yes, how much is it? Thank you.
Controlling officer, maybe we'll take Chikwawa North before we give to controlling officer. Chikwawa North, please.
Thank you, Chair. Through Chair, I wanted to know from the controlling officer, at the material time, was the business able to make profits or losses according to the statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income of the organization? Thank you, Chair.
Controlling officer, you may also take that one based on the reports that you got from valuers. So over to you, controlling officer.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable Chair, I would like to request that my colleague, James Mbingwa, takes the supplementary question from Chitipa Central and the question from Chikwawa Central.
Thank you so much. Collection is Chikwawa North. Chikwawa North. Yeah, so over to you.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the questions. I'll first begin by the supplementary question where we were asked whether the three valuers made a recommendation. What we had on file was that Knight Frank and Garden City only valued the property. Their role was to value the property, and they provided the valuation. There was no recommendation made. FTH was valuing the business. Again, they valued the business, and there was no recommendation made. So the three valuers did not make recommendations. I'll move on to the question by Chikwawa North, which says, at the time we were doing the valuation, was the business making profits? Was it profitable? Yes, the business was making profits. The business had moved from a loss-making position in 2022 to a profit-making position in 2023 and 2024. So by the time we were doing the analysis, the business was making profits. Thank you.
Controlling officer, maybe before you come in, listening to your colleague, it is coming out very clear that all those who valued did not put any recommendation. To the extent that you got valuation reports without recommendations. So you didn't have a springboard at the time you were analyzing the valuation reports. Is this correct?
Thank you, Chair.
Oh, sorry. Can he take it?
Yeah, no problem. I see that because of the energy levels and whatnot, I just have to pacify the situation. So please proceed.
Thank you very much, Chair. So, as I had stated, yes, indeed, the three service providers did not make any recommendations. Again, I think I will take you back to the background that was given by the controlling officer, that at the time we were doing this analysis, these reports had already been requested for by another fund manager who was requested to do the work before us. And then, when the fund was giving the work to us, they had given us this information to say, these are the reports that were already requested for by the other fund manager, and these are the evaluations by the two property managers and evaluation by FTH Bank, and this is what we worked on. So we worked on information that was already there, and the work that had already been done, but there was no recommendation. The aim of getting the information was to do an analysis. So they were not supposed to recommend, but just to value the property and the business. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Controlling officer.
Chair, thank you so much. My sincere apologies. I think there's one question from you that I did not respond to. You asked how long did our analysis take from the time that we were requested to do an analysis to the time that we submitted it to the fund. The request came on 20th March 2024, and our analysis was provided on 18th May 2024, so it took around 2 months. There was a question from Nkatabe Central. Nkatabe Central has outlined the role of Parliament and the beautiful work that you do in ensuring that those voices that are out there that cannot speak for themselves are heard. And you have asked a question, was this a straight transaction? And I take it you are referring to the transaction that was, as it was concluded, at 128 billion. And there's also a question of, was there transparency? Again, Continental Asset Management did not handle this transaction on behalf of the fund. So to ask, was this a straight transaction, we'll still have to go into the analysis and make an analysis. On the transparency, again, the information that we have at the moment is the one that is in the public domain, so we are not able to competently opine on it. Lilongwe Chiwamba asked whether we received any payment for this work that we did. We did not receive payment for this particular work, but for the work that we do, that we have a contract for with the fund, which is portfolio management, we do receive fees. I think
Controlling officer, can you switch off your mic? Now, you see where members are having problems. That answer alone, it actually shows that then it takes us back to Blantyre Chiromoni, issues to do with conflict of interest, because maybe let's agree to disagree and proceed for the sake of progress. Why am I saying this? Because when you're looking at even the dates that we're talking about, you're talking of 2 months. Even if we push for another analysis, you're looking at the next 2 months. But what actually motivated CAM just to provide that on pro bono basis? Is it part of the KPIs or the agreement which is on the other side? Or you just felt that, no, it's one of those things? Or it hinges around the same issues to do with conflict of interest, because initially you had valued it after analyzing different valuation. Your analysis arrived at 36 billion, and the pension fund advised that you push it to 48 billion, which in essence you're looking at another 12 billion. Now, as someone who is working with an institution that has rendered a service to the owners of the hotel, your sister company, CDH, don't you see that there's this 12 billion that enticed people to think that, no, let's leave it. We can still settle at 48 billion because there's 12 billion and there are premiums attached to this. In the event that there's default, you're more likely to have penalties, which is going to benefit your institution, your sister company. So that's why members raising the voice when you said no, all those things. Maybe I leave it to the honourable members. Honourable members, there were issues when she responded, but I knew I needed to come in and make sure that we sober up slightly. Honourable members, I see. Okay, so we'll have supplementary from Nkatabe Central, Chikwawa North, and Chitipa Central, in that order, please.
Chair, please indulge me. Would I request a clarification on your question? I think I haven't quite understood it. So if it's okay with you, Chair, could you clarify your question before we go to the other members?
Basically, I'm trying to inquire what actually motivated your institution not to stick to the 36 billion that having had an analysis of different valuation reports, you arrived at the 36 billion, but you were guided to page it at 48 billion. So what actually motivated you as professionals, having had your independent analysis of valuation reports from different valuers, what actually motivated you to move from 36 billion and get aligned to 48 billion, whereby you're looking at an extra 12 billion? Were you motivated by the premiums which your sister company CDH could get, or in the event that there were defaults, the penalties that will arise out of that? So basically, it's around that because it hinges around conflict of interest. But you're free to take it, or you can let it pass. Controlling officer will take supplementary questions from Katape Central, and there was Chikwawa North and Chitipa Central. In that order, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. Earlier, I had pointed out the role of Parliament, representation, oversight, and legislation. Only, Chair, as a committee of Parliament, we can only talk, representing the people that have been defrauded. I am seeing here matters worth probing. 38 billion, 48 billion, 128 billion, a stop order from the Reserve Bank, and now here 90 billion has been paid. Honorable Chair, don't you see issues here for the physical and the fraud section of the Malawi Police Services? I am of the view that the police should have been in this meeting to take notes for themselves. Physical and the fraud section of the Malawi Police Services should have been here. These people have been defrauded. Pensioners have been defrauded. Aberedwa. Don't you see, Honorable Chair, the need for physical and the fraud section of the Malawi Police Services? Controlling officer, are there no matters here worth probing? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Katabe Central. Like we've indicated time and again, we'll try to be sober so that the nation can get the truth out of whatever, because it's on record that even those who valued, they never gave recommendation. And I'm surprised that then why conduct evaluation? Because you just value and leave it that side. It's something else that we'll get back to that. So Chikwawa North, because for them valuation was something else, no recommendation. But was it not a red flag? Having seen over 3 companies done valuations under 40 billion, was it not a red flag that this thing we're trading on a slippery ground? Because you have 3 valuation companies, they have done it, and everyone is under 40 billion, but you still proceed to do other recommendations, which takes you to over 30 years, 36 years, 40 years. Was it not a red flag that no, this thing, no. Chikwawa North.
Thank you so much, Chair. Through you, I wanted to request CAM to share their main terms of reference for the engagement. Otherwise, I'm a bit lost. Their main terms of reference for the engagement. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. I saw Chilazulu Nyungwe raising a hand. Chilazulu Nyungwe? Yes, I know Chitipa Central. You were recognized. Before you come up with a supplementary, I've seen Chilazulu Nyungwe has been cited. Now that they raised a hand, we may have fresh wisdom. Chilazulu Nyungwe?
Thank you, Chair. The reason I raised my hand at that exact moment is because I wanted to piggyback on a thought that you had ignited into me, Chair. I'm looking at CAM as a professional entity. I'm sure they have several clients that they have been tasked to do similar work for. In my very limited experience, I know that companies usually go for evaluation for 2 reasons most times. Firstly, if they want to access a bank facility or any facility for some sort. Secondly, if they would like to sell. And in this case, we're in the selling arena. I I want to learn from the experience in this space. How many times do you see clients going for a buy in a case where the price is higher than the results or the reports that are coming from the valuers? So in this case, most of the valuers were leaving it at 30-something million, but in this case, billion, but we're going for a buy at 48 billion. So how many times do we see this occur, or this sort of situation occurring? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. Kilazo Nyungwe, can we go to Chitipa Central?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. This house is House of Records. In the morning, we had the FDH. They indicated that in their report, they reported that the business was not profitable. They made a recommendation. And here we have come saying that the valuers did not make any recommendations. One of the two are lying under oath, Chair. Professionals do not lie without a reason. Since FDH is not here, perhaps you can give a chance to FDH maybe at one point, but you can give a chance to come. Maybe if they forgot, they may reconsider their answer because they are responding under oath, Chair. Thank you, Chair.
Controlling Officer? Yes, before supplementary question, Chitipa Central has raised a very important issue. We had FDH seated where you're sitting just today, this morning, and they gave a position which is completely different to what you're stating, because you never sent people out there to do valuation. You only got a complete valuation report. In the morning, they claimed that they had submitted the recommendations. But now you're saying you only got a valuation report, no recommendations. Are you still sticking to this position that you've given us, or what we got in the morning was completely wrong? Controlling Officer.
Thank you very much, Chair. According to the report that we received from the fund, I will go to the executive summary, which said the commentary. We conclude on a range of 26 billion kwacha to 35 billion kwacha for Amaryllis Hotel. Amaryllis Hotel Limited's 100% equity on a zero debt basis. The point estimate value falls at 30 billion kwacha, being the average value of the approaches observed. The company has been valued using the following methods: discounted cash flow model and market multiples, EV/EBITDA valuation. The valuation represents a discount of 40% on the net asset value of the business, assuming no debt and using the 2023 property valuations. Page 21 of the same report says net profit after tax of 606 million in financial year 2023, an increase from 94 million kwacha loss in the previous financial year due to increased economic activity post-COVID restrictions. And our report, which we gave to the fund, also showed that in 2024, the business was in a profitable situation. There was an increase from the 2023 profit value. I will also go to the last page of the FDH report, which is their page 32. Basis for conclusions. Based on our calculations, we conclude on an equity value range for Amaryllis at 30 June 2023 of between 26 billion kwacha and 35 billion kwacha, and a valuation point estimate of 30 billion kwacha being the average of the approaches used. This represents a discount of 40% to the net asset value, assuming the company is funded 100% by equity and incorporating the 2023 valuations done on the property. This implies that the business is not very profitable in comparison to the investment made. The return on equity of the business after adjusting for the revalued property and replacement of debt capital is only 1.19% and is projected to average 4% in the period 2024 to 2028. We have used the discounted cash flow method and the enterprise value to earnings before interest, tax, and depreciation valuation approaches to the above mentioned value. We understand that Yusuf Investments Limited wishes to sell up to 100% of the equity ownership after fully unlevering the business. We believe the point estimate to be a reasonable transaction price for 100% equity in the business on a debt-free basis. The enterprise value for Sunbed at 4 August 2023 stands at 60.6 billion kwacha, whilst that of BHL, meaning Blantyre Hotels Limited, stands at approximately 13.6 billion kwacha. I'm reading this from Annexure C1 of the pack that we submitted, which is the FDH valuation report. And that is where our statement was based.
When you're looking at those reports, looking at Sunbed, when they are talking at of 60 billion, you're looking at all the Sunbeds, or they had a particular Sunbed, or at 60 billion. Then at that stage, Amaryllis was at 48, or the Sunbeds at 60 billion. But as we're speaking, all the Sunbeds are just half of the Amaryllis, which was 60 billion, slightly over. So the prevailing economic circumstances have only pushed the price of Amaryllis and leaving the rest constant, or maybe if you're to do another valuation, the Sunbeds are most likely to go higher than the current Amaryllis. Mulanje Southeast.
I would want to think that, Chair, on this question, you have put them on the spot. I thought that the question that we had for them to address was the one that we were asking them, whether FDH had made recommendations, which she just did read out to this committee, that they indeed had made recommendations in their report. I'm not sure whether the controlling officer would want to deny that particular fact. And the valuations of the Sunbeds, Sunbed is a listed hotel. Therefore, every time their prices are up to date. So there is no way that we should assume that they need to conduct another valuation to give us the true value of their assets. What they have declared is actually what is ruling, and we use that as a benchmark. So the question maybe is to see whether Amaryllis measures up to that benchmark that has been provided by a publicly listed company. Chair, lastly, just to take advantage of my interjection, I wanted to find out from our colleagues. They are saying that they had provided the analysis for free. Is it in their nature that they provide pro bono services to clients without charging them? And if they do, Chair, maybe you can kindly ask them to do another analysis for us on the pro bono, Chair. Thank you, Chairperson.
I think Chikwawa West can supplement. The issue is on a pro bono asset managers issue. So
thank you very much,
yeah.
Chair. I just want to find out from the controlling officer. We also understand that the pension fund bought Sigereke Boutique Hotel in the area, is it area 10? Did you do the evaluation for that as well? As you have said that you can do on pro bono. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much. Controlling officer, over to you. Honour members, maybe do you have any member who feels there's something that he or she wants to raise? Controlling officer, kindly respond to those questions. Blantyre Chilomoni. Yes, proceed.
I think just to cement our argument is the fact that Amaryllis has been struggling to pay its loans. That's one of the bases why they are selling. And it cements our argument to say they are helping the sister company to recover some of the loans. Because if it were just a normal transaction, maybe that conflict wouldn't arise. I just wanted to make that clear.
Thank you so much, Blantyre Chilomoni. Lilongo Chiwamba.
Chair, I have a suggestion. I think we have more issues on this issue. Is it not possible if you can pause at the moment? We are supposed to have more information on this issue. Then at the right time we can call them to continue our discussions, because FDH charged for this service 8 billion something. I cannot expect them just to do for free. That's why I could like to agree with the honorable member that indeed they are conflicted, because it is not holding all water to my question. So I could like to ask you, Chair, if we can stop because of time and also allow us to have more information. We can call them to come back after we have more information on this issue. Thank you, Chair. That's only my suggestion.
Thank you so much for Lilongo Chiwamba. We are drawing closer. I've seen you Nkatape Central, but for now, hold. We're drawing closer to our engagement. All I have to say is, controlling officer, we're still getting information from different stakeholders. And as we're getting information from different stakeholders, we'll surely get conflicting information, because there are different institutions having different missions. To that extent, we'd like to ask you not to close your doors, because now and again, we will be getting to you to ensure that we get other details, be it over the phone, through our secretariat. But as you respond to the last set of questions, I want you, controlling officer, to withdraw the statement that your officer made under oath, that there were no recommendations which were made by different valuers which helped you to generate reports. Because in the morning, and what you've just laid here clearly indicates that there were recommendations. Unless if you want to stick to that, then at a later stage, Parliament is going to listen and put up a determination. But I want to give you a chance to withdraw so that there are no penalties associated with that. But in the event that you feel that what your officer indicated is valid and it stands, I will let it pass and give you a chance to respond to the questions that have been raised. Over to you, controlling officer.
Thank you, Chair. I will start with the last one. Perhaps we are using the word recommendation loosely. When we mention recommendation in our thinking, whether FDH actually recommended to the fund that they should either buy the asset or they should not buy the asset. From what I have read, I have not seen it. But what I have seen is an opinion of valuation, which I have read, unless I get guided otherwise. But there are opinions and conclusions in the FDH report that saying, based on our calculations, we conclude, not we recommend. So that is where our statement is coming from. And based on that statement, Chair, indulge me not to withdraw Mr. Mbingwa's statement.
Thank you so much, controlling officer. Kindly proceed and respond to the other questions.
Okay. Pro bono services. Do we, are we in the business of giving pro bono services? We are not. you have also mentioned that FDH was paid for their services. Why did we conduct this analysis for free? Our response to that is we conducted this as an interim analysis, understanding that it would lead to a full mandate, which we pegged a price to and submitted to the fund for them to consider. That was analyzed by the fund, and they came back and said they would not be proceeding to give us the wider mandate for which we would be paid. So this was made in an interim capacity and in a limited capacity, on the understanding that we will discuss a wider mandate with the fund, for which there were clear terms that included fees. Chiradzulo Nyungwe, we are a professional entity. Companies go for evaluation to assess, either to access a bank facility, or to say how many times do you see clients going for a price higher than the valuation. Not many times, but we have seen it. It's either a price higher than the valuation or a price lower than the valuation, depending on circumstances. Back to your question, Chair. What motivated our institution not to stick to a 36 billion kwacha valuation and get aligned to 48 billion kwacha? We did not get aligned to 48 billion kwacha. We analyzed the 48 billion kwacha price and indicated to the fund how long it would take to recover the investment and how long it would take, based on 48 billion kwacha, for the investment to be viable. And we took it that they would use this information, they would consider it, and come out with a full decision. But we also were of the understanding that a full decision would be based on a wider mandate, where we would reanalyze the investment using fresh reports, using fresh valuations, and using recommendations from various experts, including industry experts that were in hospitality. Chair, apologies if I have skipped any other question. I may be reminded.
Chikwa West, order please. Can you switch on your mic and do the needful? Please pose your question and remind the controlling officer through the chair or the thing that she has not attended to.
Thank you very much. Through the chair, I asked if you also did an evaluation for Sigeleke Boutique Hotel, because we understand the same fund bought that hotel.
Controlling officer, over to you.
Thank you very much. Yes, I confirm that we were involved in the fund's purchase of the Sigeleke Boutique Hotel at an appropriate time. If the fund wants, the committee wants us to come and respond to questions regarding this investment, we are open to come in and address whatever questions you may have. But our understanding was that our appearance before the committee today was confined to Amaryllis Hotel. You can see that we are referring to quite a number of documents. We did not prepare any documents relating to Sigeleke.
Thank you so much, Controlling Officer, for that response and the response that you've given to this committee. Like you've indicated, when we come to Sigeleke issues, because we're looking at the funds which are being contributed by different citizens of these great nations, we would get to you. And I would like to assure you that as a committee, all we wanted was information, so that we can have a proper report and position. But since you've also confirmed that you had given a business guidance or a report, kind of an analysis on the purchase of Sigeleke by the same fund, I would not touch too much on that as I wind up, but I would want to, you now as a citizen of this great nation and colleagues who have accompanied you, having seen all this in the papers, social media, and wherever, have you regretted this sale?
Which one, Amaryllis or
The
Segeleke?
Amaryllis Hotel, having had a privilege of analyzing the, having had a privilege of analyzing different valuation reports as a citizen of this great nation, have you regretted this sale, although it happened way after? And as a citizen of this great nation, will you recommend a reversal or to allow the status quo to remain? Now, as an asset manager, your institution come, having seen all this that is happening, do you have an idea of reputation damage this can cause? Do you feel that there's any dent that has happened due to the occurrence and whatever has happened over this sale? As you take this, I would like you also to give us your closing remarks. Then we'll part ways. Thank you so much, Controlling Officer. Over to you.
Thank you very much. The first question was, as a citizen of Malawi, do I regret the sale? I think that was your question. The sale or the transaction, Amaryllis. Again, I will go back to the fact that we do not have information as to the reports and the analysis that based the conclusion of that purchase. And I think you've asked us how many years it would take to recover the investment. Again, we said we are not in a position to give that information. So do I regret the sale? I am an interested citizen. I would want to understand all the analysis that went into the purchase. Only after that would I conclude whether I regret or not regret. You asked me at some point when the transaction was concluded at 128 billion. Are you alarmed? I said, I'm curious. So I would want to see more. I want to see more. But I don't have that information. So do I regret? Premature to say. We have seen what has happened over this sale. Are we aware of the reputational damage that can cause? Yes, we are aware that in an event or in an event where transactions have been concluded and they haven't been concluded in a procedural manner, it can result in reputational damage. Do we think it will cause reputational damage to Continental Asset Management? We were not involved in the final transaction as it was concluded. We are not aware of the analysis that went into it. So again, I wouldn't think it would cause reputational damage to us as an entity. Committee. Yeah, thank you. Honorable Chair and your committee, I would like to thank you very much for inviting us to hear our side of this story. There has been a lot of discussions. In some cases, we have decided that we would differ, but we do appreciate the interest that the committee has taken and the work that you are doing to ensure that every Malawian is heard through the work that the committee is doing. We have appreciated the level of engagement, the questions that you asked. It shows genuine interest, and we do appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank Thank you so much, Controlling Officer, for leading the team. And in a very special way, be assured that this committee shall remain focused and objective in the event that a few questions did not align to your expectations. We would like to assure you that it was not intentional, but we're here just to save citizens of this great nation, because they gave us mandate to do the same. And the Constitution gives the power to honorable members to do that. So there's literally nothing personal. It is just professional and in respect to the Constitution, to which all members seated here took an oath of office, and above all took an oath of allegiance to this great nation. So I'd like to assure you, as one of the citizens of this great nation, that we're here to save the next generation. The people seated in this room are from different political parties, but we're not here to advance petty politics, because there's no any political party which is bigger than this great nation. So be assured, and on a very serious note, I'd like to encourage you to keep leading your team, and you are an inspiration to a girl child, because not many Malawians, especially women, have ascended to the positions like the one that you have. Please keep protecting it, so that you can nurture those who are silently admiring you to become better citizens when you are old enough not to take charge of these deliberations and that institution. To those girl child, or the girls out there, you have a role model. They can look up to you for so many things. But as a committee, would want nothing but the truth in whatever we've discussed from a woman. As such, we'll get to you when we feel there's a need to get to you for more clarification and information at that level as a controlling officer. With these remarks, I would like once again to thank you for showing up, and we wish you all the best as you return to your base and enjoy your evening. You may leave at your pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Chair, and thank you, committee members.
Osaiwala kupanga subscribe ku channel ya AMTV Malawi.